Should a DM always give the players what they expect? Just a little bit of history. Back in 1975, there was a magazine called the Strategic Review. The Strategic Review then became the Dragon, which lasted for a long time, then finally has gone away. But the Strategic Review in 1975 had an article called Sturmgeschutz and Sorcery. I may have totally mangled the pronunciation of that. What happened was Gary Gygax decided to play a trick on two parties he was running at the same time. One was a group of World War II enthusiasts who were playing a game called Tactics, which was also written by Gary Gygax, and the very early versions of Dungeons and Dragons. And I'll put the links down below, but what happens is the party is of World War II SS, German SS soldiers, gets attacked by an evil high priest with various things like that. And that's where the rule came out that anything larger than 37 millimeter was considered a magic weapon. Yes. So the SS soldiers in their half tracks get attacked by trolls, and anyway, they fire a Panzerfaust into the trolls. But this is an example of a plot twist that the characters had no idea. Totally different genre, throwing them into something that they weren't expecting. And I've listened to some people say, oh, you should only do what your party expects. It should all be by consent. This is a classic by Gygax, where he did something totally unexpected to his party. It was outside the rules. He wrote his own rules, which at the time was there. But he did something. It's a mind meld of two completely different combat rule sets. One is for World War II miniatures, and the other one is for Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. And that was a fascinating article. There's a link to you where the whole thing is available online in 3 different articles. It's hilarious to read, and it really is the great twist that was published in the Dragon, and you can't argue it's not part of Dungeons and Dragons because it was published in the Strategic Review, which then became the Dragon, and that it was authored by Gary Gygax. So this whole concept that, oh, we shouldn't deviate too much from the rules and we should only do what the party expects is based upon what's there, not canon. It's not part of the way people have played in the past, and we should be open to truly different plot twists. So I want you to think about that and take a look at the article that's there and think about what you could do as a DM that would totally befuddle your characters. Make them, your players, make them really think about things very differently. They're player characters, they're coming along, and then suddenly they hear these grinding sounds, and there's the roar and something, and they turn, and there's this large funny looking vehicle coming toward them. They think they're not sure if it's a monster or a whatever. It looks metallic, and it's rolling toward them, but it's unusual in that it appears to be on tracks. And what happens is you could have a classic Tiger 2 tank coming at the party, and now you have the interesting challenge to work out what does an 88 millimeter gun do to, the party? And okay, they could always load up canister shot and fire it out of an 88 millimeter. Oh, that would be truly devastating. Versus, the wizard casting a fireball spell at the tank. So what does this mean? And you gives you interesting capabilities to add to your adventures that are very different from what's in the rules. And if you you have to spring these on as surprises to the party. They can't expect them. If they're, it's got to be vastly different. So you add some variety to your gaming. Don't, that's the thing that bothers me with some adventures that I've ran, where I try and introduce new things and get slammed because, oh, that's not what I was expecting. The one I remember was the party group broke up into two groups. Some left and some stayed. It was how much combat should be in each adventure. For those of you who have gamed with me, you know that some of the adventures that I as a DM have had the most fun is where we never roll a die the entire game to determine combat, because various things are happening, but they're not combat. And this is the other extreme where it's all combat, but it's not what they expect. They're being attacked by World War II weapons and SS soldiers and so on. And that's why I did the other one. I've mentioned this in an earlier one, was where the party was attacked by basically Barbie dolls. They were little creatures about the height of a Barbie doll that had little long needles like swords that they would attack them with. And that one didn't end well for the party because the party killed themselves. But that's a whole nother story. But the idea here is be willing to introduce plot twists. Now, this causes some interesting challenges to preparation. If you've got something coming in, if you're going to throw a Sherman tank or a Tiger tank or something against against your Dungeons and Dragons characters, you'd better prepare a little bit about how weapons are affected. You could tone it back a bit and use, just Panzerkampfwagen 1, what was the one, the first, the Panzer ones, which were really not much more than machine guns. But even that, with machine guns against troops, you can have some interesting challenges there, and you have to work out some various things. And how do people react? There was, I think it was Mary Gentle wrote a book. I can't remember what it was about a Marine being sent back into the world with orcs and so on, and it just freaking out. You can do some interesting things to your characters if you're willing to bring in different things that they're not expecting, and that could be anything from aliens to World War II. Bring in something from another age, introduce challenges that they're not expecting. And this goes against all these people who say, oh, it should all be by consent of what the party should do. That's not the way I game. That's not the way some of the original creators of the game envisioned the game being played, because by their actions they showed that they were willing to mix genres. Look at how Gamma World came about and all these other things, because they were mixing genres. They even did Boot Hill. I've got a copy of Boot Hill on the shelf back there someplace. And that's Wild West. And you see how things grew and people were willing to try different things. So don't limit yourself to one set of rules. Be willing to be adventurous. Be adventurous as a DM as your players are as characters. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike the video, give it a thumbs down. I appreciate either because I like to know how you feel about these videos that I'm creating. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon that's on this page. And if you're interested, there is more content in the shown on the right.